Today, I'm thrilled to have Kat Eltzroth here with me from Baltimore. Kat is a 30-something photographer turned internet marketer who loves people. She originally went to school for music education and then went on to get a teaching degree, thinking that she would become a music teacher, but actually wound up teaching math. After 7 years of math teaching, Kat left and started work for an internet marketing company where she discovered a previously untapped love of marketing. Her passion for internet marketing eventually led her to create five-figure photography because she wanted to teach photographers whose marketing strategies are stuck in the Stone Age to help them grow their business. So hi, Kat. It's so great to have you here with us today.
Hi, Nigel. Thanks for having me.
Today's topic is all about how to book more wedding and portrait clients from in-person meetings. So what was that first spark of inspiration for you that got you interested in the photography business? Yeah, I mean, you started out as a math teacher and with an interest in music. How did you end up in photography?
Wow, gosh, that's a really good question. I kind of got dragged into it, kicking and screaming. So my husband and I, we were mentoring high school kids in our community for years and years, doing trips with them, missions trips, and all sorts of things. And all the parents started asking us if we would bring our camera to these events so that the kids would stop breaking their own. So that's how we got started, and we just had so much fun, and eventually kind of stepped up from a little. Oh gosh, what was my first one? It was like a Canon Power Shot or something. I got it on like a lightning deal on Amazon in like 1990 something. So we upgraded from that to a DSLR, and then the kids started getting a little older and started going to proms and stuff. And the parents were asking us if we would come and, do the photography for proms. And it just kind of escalated from there. And we were just putting the pictures on our personal Facebook page. We didn't have like a photography business at all. And then my sister-in-law's best friend asked us to shoot her wedding. I remember going white in the face. I could not believe it. I was like, what? You want me to do what? I hadn't had any photography training at all. So other than just kind of goofing around and having fun on my own, and, it was super low stress. And I didn't have any idea how to shoot a wedding at all. And the only wedding I had ever been to was my own. So I was really prepared to say the least. So honestly, I kind of tried to convince her to not hire us. Like, there are plenty of other people. I even knew other photographers. Like, these guys are going to be way better. You should totally go with them. And she said no. She wanted me, and she, loved my personality. And, she basically was just trying to convince me to. It was like an awkward first date. She's like, "Come on, you've got a great personality. Just go have drinks. Come on, just one." So, but it was shooting her wedding. So we did. We shot it. It was my husband and I, and we were extremely nervous the whole time, and tons of things went wrong, but we loved it. It was so exciting, and you didn't know what was going to come next, and it was chaotic, but tons of people to just to be around and talk to and get to hear all the different stories, and I loved it. For an extrovert, it was so much fun. So that's kind of how we got started.
So you really did get dragged kicking and screaming into the business.
Oh, I really did. I had no desire to do this at all.
On balance, it's probably way better than being dragged kicking and screaming out of the business.
Yes, that is true.
Which sadly, I think a lot of photographers these days really feel as if they're being kind of pushed out of the business because of the way things are and the way things have been during that awful recession thing that we had back in 2008 and all of that. I always said I would never photograph weddings. I was actually photographing artwork for artists. And then one of my artist clients said, "Hey, my daughter's getting married next month, and we haven't got a photographer. Would you do it?" And I'm like, "Oh, come on. I always said I'd never do this." "Oh, it's going to be dead easy. It's just the Botanic Garden. There's only going to be 10 people, and one of those is the minister. So,
oh my goodness.
Come and do it." So in the end, I said, "Oh, all right, okay." So I went, and I thought, well, this isn't too bad.
Yeah.
So then I advertised on my website a little bit, and I got another client, another wedding, and that was a whole different ball game. That was the big leagues. It was actually in a church with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I thought, okay, this isn't like the one in the park. The other was a walk in the park. This is not.
The walk down the aisle.
Really, yeah.
Commitment. Oh my goodness.
Unlike you, I'm afraid to say that weddings don't excite me as a working photographer. It's not something that I really want to do, although I have a great appreciation for anyone that does.
Sure.
So what would you say are the top business qualities that you see in most successful photographers these days?
The one that I appreciate the most is when you find a photographer who's not afraid to share what they've learned. When you find a really successful photographer, at some point they have or currently are investing in someone else. And I was lucky enough to have a really great network of photographers in my area. Really started from the girls that shot my wedding. They were just incredible and let me borrow their gear and asked me to come be a second shooter just to see what it was like. And, and when you find somebody who's a person of peace like that, they just, that they're doing something right. Usually that also translates into that they're not afraid to run their business. They're not afraid to make money doing photography. They're an open book and really personable. And I think that's the biggest trend that I've seen is successful photographers are willing to invest in other people, that they know they've learned a skill, they have some information to impart to somebody else, and and they're not hoarding their business to themselves.
In other words, then they're secure and confident in their own abilities to not just do the photography, but run the business as well.
Yes, absolutely. They're not making decisions based on fear. I had a really interesting conversation with someone else about the difference between running your business as an artist versus running it as a business owner. And there's definitely, pluses and minuses to both, but running your business and making artistic decisions can a lot of times hold you back, and you kind of get stuck in this way of, no, but this is my art form and I'm not willing to tweak it at all in order to get some clients. So I've found that somebody who's just secure in, how they run their business, they're secure in their ability as an artist, that they tend to be a lot more flexible and tend to grow their business. They don't really get stuck.
If you're going to run a business, you have to run it as a business. You have to put your business hat on in order to operate and run the business. But that doesn't mean that you can't work in the business as an artist. But there's two separate hats.
Yes, absolutely.
You can still bring all of the artistic, beautiful expression to the work through the technicalities of what you do.
Yes.
But, when it comes to running the business, well, you've got to put your CEO hat on. You've got to put your manager's hat on. I think it was Michael E. Gerber in the book The E-Myth talked about this thing, where people confuse the technical ability to do something with the ability to run a business doing that same thing. And they're two separate things.
Absolutely.
Now, what about clients? Because a lot of photographers will, when they start out, think, oh, well, I've got my camera, I'm starting a business. Now I've got to find some people to stick in front of it. So you'll do, and you'll do, and oh, you'll do, and how about, oh, you over there, we'll photograph you too. And they try to go after everybody.
Right.
Are you of the belief that people should focus on an ideal client, or do you think it's okay to just go after everybody?
I think everyone's entitled to live in their own camp. However, I find it more advantageous to really know exactly who you're going for, especially, a lot of photographers, especially when you're starting out, typically it's a party of one, unless you have a spouse or a friend that really likes to do photography too, and maybe you've got two or three of you. But it seems too stressful to want to go out and to be everything to everyone. If I put my business hat on from a business standpoint, if I am trying to be the best photographer in every possible photography market in my area, imagine how much competition I now have. So I'm not just trying to kind of get an up on just wedding photographers or just landscape photographers or corporate. I am trying to get an up on everyone. So now I have to learn CEO in all of them. I have to build email lists for all of them. I have to learn technical skills for all of those fields. Power to everybody who wants to try to do that. But I would strongly suggest really knowing who your customer is and refine that and go for it. And if a customer comes along and they ask you to step into something that, might stretch your skills a little bit, just take the opportunity and do it for them and see how you like it. Maybe you do find that you get pulled into doing a wedding and you never thought you would do it, and then you might like it. So, and then you can always change your business, as you go. You have to treat it like it's a living thing, not just some stationary, you just bought a couch and you have to stick with it for 30 years. Like, it's a living thing. It can grow and it can change, and we trim off the things that aren't working so good and go for what's actually bringing in growth for you.
In that regard, there's a lot of parallels with the music business, because it'd be like Taylor Swift's manager walking up to her and going, you know what, I think tomorrow you need to record a techno album, and then maybe next week we'll do heavy metal, and the week after that you can do some new age stuff.
Now, I would totally listen to Taylor Swift doing heavy metal. I think that would be hilarious.
It's quite a good idea. And Taylor, if you're listening to this is our official request for you to release a heavy metal album, because that's what I would listen to.
That's exactly right.
But musical artists don't typically flit around from one genre of music to another. They kind of stay within a sort of fairly defined space. On the other side of the coin too, you've got musicians who have been around for literally decades, like the Rolling Stones, who just seem to be living fossils, who just kind of just be around forever. And they reinvent themselves as time goes on, and they evolve and adapt. They don't become obsolete because they change and adapt to the market. So
they do.
Maybe, there's some kind of parallel there between that kind of thing and photographers.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about bookings for a second as well, because are pre-booking meetings essential for portrait and wedding photographers? Meeting with the people beforehand before you actually have them book you to do their work? Because we've got all this technology, we've got fancy websites, we've got all this stuff where people can literally book online. Do we have to meet with them in person, do you think, beforehand?
I think that's a really interesting question. And as far as, what is currently being tested, it's still the market standard to have a contract meeting beforehand. And again, some people are in the camp of, yes, I published my pricing online. Some people absolutely do not. You have to have a face-to-face meeting. And so I still haven't decided where I land as far as that goes. But honestly, I'm in the middle of developing a sales letter similar for what I would do for 5-figure. So 5-figure photography is all the marketing expertise that I've learned from owning my own business, but now it's all business related, no photography. I'm not selling my photography skills. So I'm taking what I've learned in 5-figure and I'm about to launch and apply it to my actual photography business and see exactly is it possible to sell yourself, share everything that I would in my face-to-face sales pitch, but put it online and see if I can get people to hire me online. People are spending an inordinate amount of time online and they're buying more online. I mean, geez, just how many people are doing their Christmas and holiday shopping solely on Amazon now?
Hello.
Yeah, right. Amen. The last 5 years, I refuse to go anywhere. Like I will do it from my home in my pajamas. It's hard to say. I want to believe. My hypothesis is absolutely you can sell your services online, but it can't be done haphazardly. I mean, especially for a wedding photographer, if you're asking for a couple of $1,000s for a wedding, there is a very deliberate sales process that needs to be put in place. And that's, oh my gosh, I could talk about sales funnels for hours and hours. We're not gonna have time for that, but there aren't enough photographers that are trying it online. Some people do deposits, but it's a tab that they threw up on their website and hey, make a deposit. And there's no sales content. There's no, what do you get? There's no video introducing the viewer to the photographer so they can get to know you as a person. I'm not sure. I know what the market standard is, and I know what I'm going to be testing. And maybe I'll have to come back on, in a month or two and give you my test results. But I would absolutely think that it's possible to start selling your services directly from your website.
So the whole booking process where you allow people to book online, though, how do we know that actually is really booking people who are a good fit for our business? That would be my concern.
Yeah. And again, that's why I definitely need to test it. And it cannot be done haphazardly. It has to be extremely specific. You have to know who you're going after, what is the price point, and what is that person looking for, and how can you meet those needs? So there'd be 2 tests that I would probably run. I would run run a test where I have an actual, in the marketing world, they call them sales letters. So I would have a long form sales letter that would explain my story, why I would be a perfect fit for you. And then people could purchase my full package right there. But I would have some kind of disclaimer, obviously it's refundable if the date doesn't work or whatever. But then what I'm really interested in seeing is can I run traffic to a sales letter about my photography services and offer some type of a deposit or a Skype call or, something that's going to be less intrusive on the daily schedule, trying to figure out, gosh, it's going to take us 2 weeks before we can ever find an hour for us to meet at a coffee shop in person. Something that would be a little easier for someone to schedule. And then you can decide there if you're a good fit, and the deposit is refundable based on whether I, the photographer, think that you and I would be a good fit. I definitely see the objection, and I am curious about it. It wouldn't stop me from testing, because I would be really curious to see, first of all, can I even do it? Can I even bring in customers with using the exact same marketing stuff that I use for Five Figure for my photography services, as far as actually acquiring those new customers? And then if issues do come up, like, compatibility, how can I resolve them so that I can still keep bringing in customers online? Not necessarily does that mean that, the whole process is broken and I should just give up? But it's a puzzle. I mean, my marketing brain is going a million miles an hour right now. I'm like, oh man, as soon as I get off this call, I gotta break out the whiteboard and and start solving the problem. But I just can't believe that with all the tools and all the amazing training out there, that it wouldn't be possible to transition from all in person to online, or some kind of combination, using technology, Skype and, Google Hangouts and things. So
very interesting. I definitely look forward to seeing the results of that experiment for sure. Let's talk about the actual in-person version of these meetings. Okay?
Sure.
So for photographers who are new to the business, are they making mistakes that might be costing them in these meetings? Are there things that they're overlooking as part of that sort of in-person meeting process?
Yeah, absolutely. In talking to some new photographers, and because honestly, who really enjoys contract meetings?
Yeah, right.
I'm not a fan. Most people are not fans. And honestly, like, photographers should be bad at them. They're creatives. They get into this because they're creatives, not because they're salespeople. They don't have backgrounds in marketing typically. So it would make sense that that's a really uncomfortable and awkward part of the business, but kind of a necessary evil. And I think the two big things biggest mistakes that I often see is, the first one, not making enough of a connection to the potential client. They jump right into, here's a contract, here's all this legalese, this is what you get, here's how much it costs, done. And they totally forget about the relationship. So how about just 5 minutes of small talk? Ask about, if it's a wedding, ask how they got engaged, how did they meet each other? Small talk is such a powerful thing, and people tend to overlook it. And it does two things. It lets you get to know them and make sure, that you can kind of start that process of assessing, how is this relationship going to unfold, and, what kind of personalities do they have? Does it fit, what the services that I can provide? And then it also creates a relationship with them. So from a marketing standpoint, putting your business hat on, that is the best way to turn a potential client into a customer, is by creating a relationship, creating trust. And you can do that in 5 minutes of small talk. So that's definitely one of the biggest ones. And then the other one is talking forever. like who wants to sit in a contract meeting where you just sit and talk for 45 minutes and never get to anything related to the contract? My whole process is scripted. So I actually bring the same sales pitch I've had for years and years. I think maybe I've lost 2 contracts in the last 5 years. But so basically what it is it, reminds me to have a couple minutes of small talk. I get very distracted, so I have to have it written out for me. So I have a couple minutes of small talk, and then I talk about me as a person. Why did I get into photography? What kind of person are you getting? I'm an extrovert, so I'm going to be on the dance floor dancing with all your guests, and but I also I'm kind of OCD as far as the details. So anything that you put on your day that you want to have happen, time, I'm your girl. I'm going to make sure that you don't have to wear a watch. You don't have to know where you have to be and when. That's something that I love to do. So let me do that for you. And then from there, I ask them, how does that sound relationally? Do you, is this a conversation that you want to continue rather than spending, again, 45 minutes talking about who knows what, maybe getting to the pitch and all the way at the end of the meeting, then you find out that you're too expensive for them and they're like, oh, nope, never mind. It's like somebody breaking up with you at the beginning of dinner and you still have to sit through this awkward conversation. Like, let's be a little more strategic about this.
Yeah, I kind of lost my appetite now.
Right. Right. Exactly. Now, unfortunately, I had to learn this the hard way, and I did have to sit through one or two awkward dinners. Like, okay, so maybe we'll make this coffee instead. So so those are the two big things, is just don't underestimate the power of small talk and getting to know them, and having that be an intentional part of your in-person meeting. And then second, just having the whole meeting planned out so that you're not talking forever. Share a little bit about you. Ask them, this is a turning point. Does this feel like, you want to move forward? Talk to them about the contract and how much it costs. Is this something that you want to move forward with, rather than, going through every possible detail about your services and the whole day, and then finding out they don't want to move forward.
One of the things in my experience that I found can really hurt a in-person booking meeting is treating it like it's a make or break thing for the photographer. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say the photographer is struggling, haven't made a sale or a booking in some time. They're getting pretty anxious about money. Things are getting a little bit tight. And there's this sense, this need that, oh my gosh, I've got to make this sale. I've really got to get this person to book. And even if there's no direct outward sign of that to the potential client, I think it changes the whole dynamic of the meeting from the sense of, how the photographer speaks to
absolutely
to the people. So do you have any advice on that?
First of all, like you were saying, there might not be any outward presentation of that, but just in case someone doesn't know that that's probably not a good idea. No sob stories. No, I've been struggling, or I really need this, or I need to make a mortgage payment. Nothing related to that. It is purely business. You need to remove that personal side of you, and you want to empower the couple or the client to make their own decision. Yeah, if this sounds kind of odd, but if you're able to emotionally compartmentalize, that's going to be the best thing. And you go in confident, like we talked about before, confident in your skills. It doesn't matter if you haven't necessarily been hired. It doesn't mean that you are not a good photographer and that you're not worth hiring. So keeping that in mind, and just being confident. Go in, share a little bit about how you got into photography, how you're a good fit for them, but empower them to make the decision.
So no getting on your knees and begging them to book.
No. Oh, no, please don't do that. Because now you have a client that is either really uncomfortable now and will walk away and we'll talk about how uncomfortable you are, or they will hire you out of guilt and just the whole relationship is ruined. you just can't do that.
And of course, this thing has a little brother or sister too, well, you know what, I might be able to give you a discount if you book.
Oh, don't do that. Yeah. Again, just be confident. Stop backtracking. Be confident. Think about it ahead of time. Don't go into a contract meeting and wing it. Again, like I have my whole pitch. It is scripted out. I know where I'm going to pause and I'm going to ask them if they want to continue. I know that it's a good use of my time, a good use of their time. And I hate to keep using that word. You just have to be confident.
It sounds like a sort of a lights, camera, action.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And some people will get kind of nervous about that. Oh, but I'm lying and I'm just putting on a face for them. And well, you know what? Plenty of business owners do that. Plenty of business owners have to put on a good face when business is tight, and you still have to go out and you still have to sell yourself and you have to do it well. And and no one, if there's any sense of distrust or, you're coming across uneasy, that's going to interrupt the whole relationship. And people don't trust people who aren't confident.
Right.
So it plays a huge role. And honestly, even in contract meetings that I've lost for any reason, I will still offer to suggest other photographers. So say I'm not in the right price range, or I can't make the date or something. I I'm that confident about my skills and about my photography that I'm even willing to suggest other photographers that I trust and that I know they have a great business model, or I really appreciate their art. And even something as simple as that goes a long way. And I've had clients call me back for maternity shoots after the fact if I couldn't make their wedding, just because I was open and willing to continue helping them even if I wasn't a good fit.
And I remember when I was doing this from the beginning, and I would have in-person consultations with potential wedding clients, of course, back then. But for a long time, there would always come this point in the process where the potential bride and groom or the bride's mom or something would say, well, this is all really so fantastic. We love what you do. We're great, but how much is it? And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, well, then you have to say how much it is. And I caught myself, back in the early days when I was dumb and stupid, feeling like almost apologetic for my prices.
Yes. Yep.
Of course, I learned to get over that. But
right.
Again, are there any strategies that photographers can put to use to help alleviate that kind of unease, if you like, of presenting prices?
The first thing if I had a photographer who was feeling those, the anxious feelings, and we were just talking about it, I would ask them why they're anxious. That's going to show you right there exactly where you need to make some tweaks. So if they're anxious about, how can I ask somebody to pay so much? Okay, so there's a couple of things that are wrong there. Either you are really insecure about your skills or how many weddings you've done, and then we can talk about that and see where you have come from, and and encourage you and remember how much you have learned. But then the other side of it might be, maybe you need to convince yourself that you are providing enough value. So then we would go back and we'd look at, what does your wedding package or your portrait package or whatever, what does it include? And are there things that we can do to increase value based on what you're offering? So if somebody's offering a wedding shoot for $6,000 and all you get is one photographer and they're there through the formal family portraits and like hardly anything else, they just give you like a floppy disk at the end of the night. Okay. If you're really that good and you can justify that, that's fine. But if you're insecure about that, there's probably a reason why. So we would, go back and look at how can we increase value to make you more comfortable, the photographer, about, how you're pricing your services. But then there's also just, the emotional and confidence side that we would need to talk about too. So it's a really tricky thing, and it's not a one size fits all for everybody. And every photographer at one point, is going to run up against that. And I just would ask, why do you feel that specifically? What are you worried about? Are you worried about people saying no? Okay, that's just a confidence thing. So there's a couple of things you can do about that too. You could, put something in your contract meeting script like I do, that if you're not a good fit, ask them why. Do some market research while you're sitting right there. Don't show them that you're heartbroken that you're not going to get the sale, but but learn from it, and don't hide and wallow in your anxiety. Take some action and move forward.
Right. And we're not allowed to get mad at our potential clients for them not booking us. Right. Can't threaten them or anything like that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, please don't. Wish them all the best, offer to be a resource for them. And I mean, I've even done that. I took a wedding and then I found out I was pregnant and I was due the day of the wedding.
That's inconsiderate.
I know. Shame on me, right? But I was able to slip one in like 2 weeks early. So I did do an entire wedding when I was 8 months, and I don't remember what it was. Like grandma's helping me off the floor because I couldn't squat in the aisle.
There's some drama for the wedding day. The photographer giving birth in the aisle on the wedding day. That
It was a real possibility. I'm not going to lie. My husband and I had a backup plan. We're like, okay, if everything goes down, this is how we're going to do this. It was like fire drills. So we were ready, but thankfully it didn't work out that way.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. That's just created this terrible image in my mind. I'm sorry. There was an accident at the wedding. The groom broke his leg. Well, how did he do that? Well, the photographer's water broke and he slipped and fell.
As long as somebody catches it on camera, that's fine.
Exactly right.
That's why you bring a second shooter.
A spare shooter.
That's right.
So you called these meetings Sorry. You call these meetings contract meetings, as we've been talking. So we'll talk about the contract side of things in just a minute. But can these be broken down into kind of little phases? And if so, what do they look like?
Yeah, absolutely. With my marketing background, it's not really an unspoken rule. Everybody knows that you want to warm up a potential customer. And then when they are ready to buy, you need to be there. So I don't break up my meetings into multiple meetings, because if somebody is interested enough to meet with me once, I want to make sure they have everything they need to make a decision right there, rather than, we go out for a cup of coffee, we just, have some small talk, and then, okay, great. Well, we really like each other. Let's set up another meeting where we're going to talk about, the business side of things. And then somebody gets sick, or you write down the wrong phone number, and then you've lost that sale. So what I try to do is in my in-person meetings, I've kind of explained it a little bit, but the first part is all about me selling myself. So me as Kat, who are you getting? Who is Kat? Why is she a good fit just personally for your photography? What are some just character traits? Again, like the being OCD about details. That's something that's going to speak to a bride. She put a lot of thought into even just the color napkins that are on the table. And I'm telling her, I'm going to be a great person to capture all of those and make sure that not only do you remember how much work it took to put out your wedding, but now everybody else is going to get to see all the little details too. So that first part is really all about selling myself as a photographer. And then that's when I usually pause and I ask them, I'll ask them some questions about them. How did you get engaged? And after that, the kind of guided small talk, I guess I would call it. I would ask them, personally, do you think that I'm a good fit? Am I somebody that you would want to have around you on your wedding day? Again, most of my photography was wedding, so I'm kind of taking that twist. But if you think about it, a wedding photographer spends more time with the bride than the groom, honestly, because you're there. If they don't see each other at the beginning of the day, I've got 4 hours on that groom. So, even mom and dad, a photographer it's a really intimate role to play. So I just want to look the bride in the eye and ask her, am I someone, that you feel comfortable with, that you would want to have, that close with you all day? And then, obviously, if she says yes, then we continue on to talk about the contract. If she says, I'm not really sure about it, I don't take it personally. I like myself. I think I'm fun and nice. And, I wish her all the best. And I make sure that she knows I'm available. If she needs any help, if she wants to come back and talk about a contract, that's fine. We'll end the meeting right there or give her some more resources. But if she does want to continue, then we go on to, kind of my next section is talking about what's included in the package. And I leave the price for last. So again, it's a big, it's a marketing strategy is showing the value first before you pitch the price, so that the price seems like such a great deal. And it should be. If you are offering quality services, your price should come off as, wow, like that, I'm getting a lot for my money. So we go through my package and how much time they get and things that I expect of them also, punctuality and how much time I need. Like some people don't realize that, you need extra time for the formal family portraits. Surprisingly enough, some people don't realize that those take an hour or so. So, just kind of managing expectations. I use that time to manage expectations while building value for my services. And then I again, confidently provide the price and kind of explain different payment options to kind of alleviate any of those worries that might be coming up. And then once I've explained all that, I kind of pause again and say, does this sound like something that you would want to work with, or something that, depending on who it is, you kind of feel it out and you make that pitch based on, their personality, and you have to kind of be flexible. And then from there, it's, if they say yes, it's a celebration. So now, we're excited, and I want to know more about their wedding, and I want to know things that are going to help me be a better photographer, but get her really excited to share some details about her day. How many people are going to be involved? What are your colors? What are your flowers? Just as much as I have time for, maybe another 15 minutes or so. I can usually do a contract meeting in about 40 minutes, maybe shorter, but I tend to shoot for about 40 minutes. And so again, that's more building relationship as I'm showing her how interested I am in her wedding, which I am. I love weddings. They're my favorite type of photography. I'm also gathering information for myself, building that relationship with her, and honestly, continuing to build the value for my services, that she still gets to continue to see how am I as a person and how detail oriented am I, that I do care about these things. Just kind of reiterating that fact of, yes, you made the right decision, and it doesn't just end here. I'm not going to take your check and you're not going to hear from me again. Like, I am interested in your event, and I'm just going to continue building that relationship. So those are kind of the three big parts that I'm going to pitch myself personally, ask if they want to move forward. I'm going to talk about what's included. I'm going to build value and then confidently provide the price, and talk, and then pause again and see if they want to move forward. And then it's more relationship building after that.
So the contract part of this,
yeah,
that sounds to me a little bit like bringing a busload of lawyers to a party. Bit of a buzzkill. No offense to any lawyers that are listening, by the way. Please don't sue me.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're switching gears from the warm, fuzzy, emotional side of things, and now we're getting down to brass tacks and nitty-gritty and business and checking boxes and reading clauses and making sure that terms and conditions are all met and all that kind of thing. Where does this fit into the process?
So typically after I have, I've done the package part and listed the price, and if they've decided to move forward, then that's when I bring out the contracts. So they've already gotten to see who I am personally, and they've gotten to see my services. I've built value, and they've decided to move forward. And then I try to make the contract side of things super quick. Let's get it. Similar to if you're going to, sell something online, you don't want to have the person on the sales page and they're going to spend a half hour filling out these forms and their address and their phone number and clicking, yes, I agree to the terms. And you want it to be kind of painless. So you want to slim it down and make it easy to digest. So that's what I do. My contracts, obviously I give them time to review it on their own if they want to. I'll take a deposit if they want to, take the contract home and look at it. That's fine. But I skim over it with them, and I really don't use a lot of legalese in my contracts. I've had them looked over, but it was really important to me to make sure that it was easy to understand and very simple. I think I only have there's 10 bullet points on my contract. Maybe not even that many. I feel like I slimmed it down from there. And honestly, I kind of ordered my contract in a way that it tells the story of the day. So, first would be punctuality. And, this is what I expect of you. And this is the amount of time that I need for, the portraits in the beginning, so that they kind of know. And then what would come next, and then what would come next. And I don't know if that really helps, but I have felt that it helps me to remember not to skip over anything if my contract kind of flows through the events of the day. And then it's easier for them to follow too, rather than skipping from, when is the deposit due to, how many pictures am I going to get to when does the day actually start? It just makes it kind of confusing. So, but yeah, so that's kind of what I do, is I just make sure that my contracts are easy to digest, and they're short. They fit on one page. I have one package agreement page where, it lists everything that I had already kind of described in the value. And then I have one contract page that includes, state of Maryland and things that would protect me. So it's not a huge package for a paper. You're not signing over a mortgage, Yeah. So we sign it right there and it's done. And then that's kind of why I throw in the personal stuff at the end, asking about their colors and the flowers and getting them excited, so that that's what they leave the meeting remembering, not the contract stuff and they gave me a check and we left. It was, we learned about me, they hired me, and then we had coffee like we were friends. That's how I do it, and it's worked very well so far.
It sounds, all very, structured and organized and that. But, sometimes what happens is at the end of the meeting, everybody gets up and says, "Oh, thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited to be working with you. This is going to be fantastic." And the bride and groom are going, yeah, we're so excited. And you say, "Okay, well, we'll see you again soon." And they go out of the door, and the groom turns to the bride and goes, "What in the world were you thinking? Why did you do that?" I didn't want to be rude and say no, but I thought you were reading my signals there. And they get buyer's remorse, and
yes.
you get that awful call, or worse still, you get a Dear John email,
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Saying, "Oh, due to insert, excuse here, we can't hire you. We want our money back and the deposit and all this kind of thing."
Sure.
So, and we've all had this happen to us. It's devastating.
Oh, it's terrible.
Especially if it was one of those make or break bookings,
Right. Yep.
So what can photographers do to minimize this whole buyer's remorse and stop people from changing their minds, other than, handcuffing them to a chair?
Right. Absolutely. And it's kind of, again, built into how I run my contract meetings, that I am asking them to say yes multiple times. So I'm not just asking them to say yes to, do you want to sign this line and give me your deposit right now? I am asking them, do you like me as a person? Yes. Then I talk about the value. Does this package cover everything that you were hoping for in your wedding? Yes. Then we talk about the price. Does this look like it's possibly in your budget? Yes. So it gives them lots of opportunities to really think about what they want. And if they're going to come back to buyer's remorse, they're going to have to say no in their head. They're going to have to justify saying no to all of the different things that they already said yes to. So it's not just, oh my gosh, I can't believe that price is crazy. We just have to say no. They've also said yes to me as a person. So now they have to say, oh man, we really didn't like you. So then, and not that I'm going to come back to them and say, well, you have to say you don't like me as a person. Now I'm going to let you out of this contract. It's not like that at all. But by asking them to say yes to multiple things in our contract meeting, when they leave, it's that much more difficult for them to emotionally and mentally think through and justify coming back and saying no. Obviously, anyone who signs a contract with me, you are not stuck, and I am respectful. And if something happens, of course, I'm going to let you out. But as a marketer, as putting on that business hat, I am making very intentional decisions during my contract meeting to make it that much more difficult for you to have buyer's remorse. And again, keeping up with them, making sure that the next time you see them is not 15 months from now at the wedding, where they're like, oh my gosh, why did we hire you? We spent how much on you?
Who are you?
Right, exactly. Wait, what's your name again? Hi, I'm Kat. We met about 15 months ago.
Oh, you must have changed your hair or something. We don't remember you.
Right, and I'm extremely pregnant. So.
Just to be clear, brainwashing is illegal. We're not allowed to do that.
Yes, of course. But yeah, keeping up that relationship with them, and hopefully you're offering engagement shoots to continue that relationship and be with them, in front and behind the camera way before their wedding is going to continue to build that relationship. And I even just send my brides, I just set an alarm on my phone a little bit to just ask that, if I heard that, they're going to be picking the cake in 3 weeks, I'm going to just send them a quick email like, hey, what did you guys decide? Do you have any pictures? I'd love to see them. Or constantly keeping up, especially for wedding photographers, Pinterest. Oh my gosh, Pinterest is just crazy. I saw somebody described it as this is terrible. I don't even know if you could put this on the air, but as bride pornography. Because it's just these beautiful pictures of these amazing weddings and things that you can do for yourself, and all these DIY projects, and just make your wedding the most beautiful thing anyone's ever seen. So I'll ask my bride, send me your Pinterest board, and I'll keep track, and I'll comment on them. Oh my gosh, this looks beautiful, and keep the relationship that way. So I'm just not treating them as a one night stand. Honestly, like it's a relationship, it's a friendship. Nurture it, care about them.
I'm sure that some of your brides think to themselves, well, hey, Kat sounds more interested in my wedding than some of my bridesmaids do.
And honestly, I have actually been told that that's true. I am so giddy on a wedding day, and some of the bridesmaids are so strung out on, oh my gosh, my feet hurt from being in this stupid dress, and I put together a million wreaths last night. I've been up all night. I'm exhausted, and I come in, I'm all bubbly, like, this is the greatest day ever.
And the bridesmaids are thinking, yeah, it will be when we get to the reception part.
That's exactly right. I need a drink, and I'll forget all of this, and we can celebrate.
So, this has been a really great chat about this whole in-person meeting process. Is there anything that you can think of that we didn't get to that you want to make a point of letting people know, or do you think we've covered most everything?
If I had one more thing to iterate, it would just to be confident. Just remember what you've done and, the customers that you had. And if you haven't had one yet, look back at your work and tell yourself that you're worth being hired, and reach out to other photographers that are willing to kind of take you under their wing and to help you and maybe refine, the things that you're offering, or help you refine your skills, and just be confident. You're worth it.
Great advice. Well, Kat, thank you so much. This has been really fun. It's been hopefully entertaining for everyone out there.
Yeah.
My bad jokes, particularly. I'm not renowned for being a stand-up comic. But this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being here with us. And
thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And, we need to get you back sometime and talk about some of the other cool stuff that you've got going on.
Absolutely.
And I'll make sure that people can get to your website, Five Figure Photography, and they can come and learn some of the other great things that you've got going on there.
Absolutely.